Good morning, everyone. My name's James. I'm an alcoholic. I've been through the process with the help of a very patient sponsor and in the love of my higher power. At meetings like this with people like you, I'm currently still working on amends, and I am working on the latter steps, 10, 8, 11, 12, on a daily basis to the best of my ability and mostly my willingness. The ability's there, but sometimes the willingness is not. So I don't know why. I always get so nervous when I come up here and sit here. I shouldn't be, because really, at this point, after going through the process, I feel that not only have I done the work, but I've gotten the guidance from my higher power, and I'm just here to share my experience with you. So hopefully the nerves shake off in a minute or two. Thank you, Jim, for asking me. I appreciate it. Jim called me earlier this week, and we were talking on the phone because Jim is my sponsor. And we often chat on the phone about little things, and then he says, "Hey, James, I've got a surprise for you." And I knew, and I knew something was coming up. And he says, "I want you to speak for me this Saturday." So of course, my mind starts setting off right away, and it's like, "Oh, how can I get out of this? How can I? What kind of excuse can I come up with?" And of course, there is no excuse, because for me, when somebody asks you to speak, no matter how nerve-wracking it might be, it's just something I have to do. I have to work with others, and I have to be of service. Going through this process, I'll have to tell you one thing. The hardest step for me through the 12 steps was the very first step. Admitting to myself and to my higher power that I had no power over alcohol. It was just bringing me down, changing my life. I had no control at all. It was so difficult for me to do that and to accept that fact that it took me 35 years to do. And it took me twice coming here. I remember the first time I came here and listened to a bunch of people speak, and I'm looking around because I wanted to pick a sponsor I thought I could get along with, and I wanted the process to work for me. So what I did is I eventually came up to Jim and I asked him to be my sponsor. And the first thing he says to me is, "Why are you asking me?" So I kind of was not expecting that. So that kind of put me on a spot, but it was a reasonable question, right? And what I wanted to say is, because you're so cute and cuddly, but I didn't say that. And then I wanted to say, because at that time I remember looking at Jim and I said, "Wow, this guy, he's coming to the meetings, he's riding a motorcycle, he's really cool. So I want to work with somebody who's really cool." But really, the reason I gave him, and the truth is I said, because I've been watching you for a few weeks, if not a month or so. And what I see is a person very involved with the people around him. I see somebody who is of great service, working and always helping others, and that's why I chose him to be my sponsor. So I came and we started working together. And I don't know, I think it was right after the third step, I decided to disappear. Because I decided, so at that time I was getting a divorce with my wife and something like that, and it was just I was just going to start beginning writing. And really, I thought to myself, well, this guy, he doesn't really know what he's doing, so I'm going to take off. And, I'm giving myself and all the excuses I can. I'm lying to myself constantly. I've lied to myself so much. I've been dishonest so much in my life, it's ridiculous. I was thinking about myself. And you know what? At that time, even though I did the third step prayer with him, at that time, it still had not sunk in. Honestly, I still wanted to drink. I wanted to go off. I was getting away from my wife. I blamed her for my drinking. Of course, she was the problem. I told myself, when I get a divorce, I might drink for a little while and then I'll stop drinking. So then I decided that I moved into another town and so on, and I lost contact, and Jim tried to call me a couple times and I never answered the phone. and we let it go. So then I came back about 3 or 4 years later. It took me to really hit rock bottom. I hear people in here speak sometimes. They say, thank God I had enough sense to come in AA and do the work before I hit rock bottom. I always thought I was a smart guy. I worked as an engineer for 22 years. I was a teacher of computer science and robotics for 18 years. But I'm not smart. As a matter of fact, when I was working with Jim, he used to say to me, oh, you're a teacher. I don't have to tell you this. You're smart. I don't have to explain this to you. You know what I said to him? I said, Jim, if I was that smart, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be an alcoholic. I wouldn't have gotten arrested. I wouldn't have spent 4 months in jail. I wouldn't be on probation right now. So I came back about 4 years later after getting out of jail. I realized I hit rock bottom. I had lost my teaching profession. Really, I was at the worst I ever was at. And I was still drinking. You know, I hear a lot of people come in here and say, I've been sober for 5, 10, 15, 20 years before starting the 12-step process. Or I hear people say they were sober and they came here. I'm sorry, I was not sober. I was not sober except for the 4 months I was in jail. And then I came here and started the work. I did not have years of sobriety under my belt. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, I don't know. The important thing is I'm here now, and I went through the process. So I came back to the meeting, and and this is just to show what a great sponsor I have and what a great person he is. I come back, and 4 or 5 years, I know my appearance has changed. I saw Jim right away. I didn't go and walk over to him. What he did is he came over to me, and he welcomed me back. That's what a good sponsor does. That's what a person of service does. I'll tell you one thing. I did, before finishing this process, I had no idea how to be of service to others. I was always, and I didn't realize it until I went to the work, I was always servicing myself. What does James want? What's good for James? How can somebody help James to get what he wants? That's the way I was. I had no idea how to work with others. I had no idea how to be of service to others. Jim helped me with that. He guided me along the way. Right from the beginning of working, he would suggest, never demand, never say I had to do anything. He would suggest, greet people, volunteer to greet people. What a great way to get to meet people, get to know people's names. When you go into the process, since you're not allowed to share in the Big Book Step Study, that's a great way to feel like you're actually a part of the meeting, part of the fellowship, part of the community. And so that's what I did. And I tried to volunteer in other ways I could, setting up chairs, taking chairs down during COVID, and setting up the hybrid meetings, setting up the equipment, setting up the cameras so people from on Zoom could see what was going on, and people here, we set up screens and a projector, and other people, of course, helped me with that. But I had to be of service. I had to be of service. I had to help people just like they helped me. So Jim has shown me, through his example, like I said, I chose him as a sponsor in the beginning. He showed me how to be of service to others. And he showed me how to work with others. When he was working with me, he made me feel like I was important. He made me feel like I was number one. He always asked me, when did I want to get together with him to do some work? Anytime I said, he made himself available. It was never, I never heard from him. I'm sorry, I'm busy at that time. I can't meet with you. I can't work with you at the time. He always made the time no matter what. Back in 2020, we were working for the second time. One second. And I hit a low point in my life. Why? Because I was going to my old selfish thoughts again. Instead of going to my higher power, talking to my sponsor, talking to other people who are there for me, what did I decide? I decided that I was going to kill myself. And I actually took off too. I had the plan. I had ropes. I sharpened knives and tools for a business now. And I sharpened a knife really good, and I brought that with me. And I drove up to the Hampton Beach, stayed there a couple of days. I told Jim I was going away with my daughters. I told my family I was going away with Jim. Lies, 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 lies to other people, lies to myself, total dishonesty. God, was I screwed up? I'm still screwed up, but hopefully in a better way. And I did. I went up to the White Mountains and found a secluded place. And I sat in my car and I cut my throat a couple times and blood spurted out and my t-shirt was filled with blood. Not to get into too many details, but I was ready to die and I was sitting there and I was actually praying to God. You know, I was waiting to lose enough blood to pass out and to die. And I was praying to God, why am I not dying? For God's sake, the cuts I put in my neck kept clogging up. And what I did is it clogged up, and I took the blood clot, I tore it away so it would stop bleeding again. Then I did have a spiritual experience. And I said, this is wrong. Why am I doing this? I went back to my hotel room. First thing I did is, I don't know if I called Jim first. I was still on probation at the time. Now I was really in trouble because I was told if I broke probation, I was going back to jail for 2.5 years. And I said, I called my brother, I called Jim, I called my probation officer, and I said, I just tried to kill myself. I'm up in New Hampshire. I don't know exactly where I am, but I'm coming back home. And of course, on the way back home, driving down, I go from New Hampshire to Massachusetts on 495, and there's a bunch of state police there. Great. So of course, I get stopped. I had no idea why I was being stopped. I was so careful to follow the traffic rules and everything else. The policeman pulled me over, and he said, looking at my neck, because I hadn't showered or anything since I had done the damage to myself, and he said, did you inflict those wounds on yourself? I said, yes. And then they called an ambulance. They took me to a hospital in Haverhill. And then again, my sponsor was there again. What did he do? He came out, first of all, picked up my car and brought it home so that when it was impounded, I wouldn't have a huge fee to pay when I got out of the hospital. But he also called me almost daily at the hospital. I didn't call him. I'm still thinking about myself. He would call me and ask me how I'm doing, tell me that he loved me, tell me that my family loved me, and then finally I got out and I came back home. So why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you this because this chapter 12, the 12th step, is about learning not only how to work with others, but also of being of service to others. Again, I learned that from my sponsor. I didn't just learn it from my sponsor. I learned it from all of you. Every time I come to these meetings, and everybody sits here, and after the reading, after the main speaker, everybody gets a chance to share. Going through this whole process, learning the principles, understanding what they meant, understanding each step that I was working on, how to go about working on that step so I could complete it properly and understand it. You know, Jim could only teach me so much, you know. The rest of that explanation, the rest of the understanding, the rest of the support came from people like you at the meetings. You guys were always there. You're always there anyway. Even after I was gone for a month, maybe 2 months, in the middle of working the process the second time, I came back. People didn't ask questions. They just said, well, so glad to see you. Welcome back to the meeting. And I'm so thankful for that. The AA emblem, if you ever take a look at it, it has 3 words on it: unity, service, and recovery. The unity to me is the fellowship, the AA fellowship that we get when we all meet here together and we work together towards a common goal. The other one is service. Today, I need to be of service. I need to share, even though I don't want to share, even though I don't want to speak. I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to pay it forward. I have to give back what people gave back to me. I have to give another person a chance. I was currently working with 2 sponsees. I'm actually lucky enough today, after this, not only do I get to go and be of service to my mother and go to brunch with her and then take her and get her groceries and stuff like that, but I'm really lucky because I have a sponsee in Shrewsbury who's ready to do the 3rd step, and we're going to go to a park on a beautiful day. We're going to do the 3rd step, and then we're going to begin. I'm going to get him started on his writing. What can be a better day than that? I don't know. That is a beautiful thing. I had another sponsee too. Unfortunately, he dropped me. Right after the 3rd step, we started the writing. From what I understand, I had been rude to him, and I had been arrogant, a number of things. And maybe I was. I don't know. Maybe I was pushing him too hard to get more work done. I thought he was slacking off. That wasn't the way in order to stop the work, and maybe I owe him an amends. But he stopped coming here, and the last thing he said to me is, please do not contact me again. And that hurts inside. It doesn't hurt, it doesn't hurt the fact that I lost a sponsee. It hurts the fact that I hurt somebody in some way that caused them, I'm taking the blame, I caused them to not want to do the work anymore. That hurts. But I'm here, and I'm here. And if I hear from him back again, I am going to make amends. I did try to apologize at the time, but I have to believe that a lot like a lot of us who go through the process of start it more than once, that he just wasn't ready to take a good look at himself, and I'm hoping he comes back. So, just want to tell you one more thing, because I don't know how long I'm speaking. It's funny. It's funny. I'm so nervous about speaking. I woke up early and I didn't really want to come and speak this morning. And then once I get started, then you sometimes can't stop me. Went to a commitment last night, and that's a beautiful thing, and that's something I had never done before. And those people that we go and speak with are so thankful to be introduced to this process and to hear what we have to say. And I shared a little something with them. I talked to them, and it's very important to me. That's why I'm going to share with you. I talked to them about something called the Rat Park experiments that occurred in the 1970s. And I believe the doctor who conducted the experiments was Dr. Alexander. And I'll never forget that, because I've discussed it with my therapist before, and it's helped me a lot. And what he did was about a study really about alcoholism, addiction, and that sort of thing. And trying to prove that addiction and alcoholism isn't really the main problem that people are dealing with. My alcoholism, my drinking, is just a symptom of the overall problem. So what he did is he took individual rats and he placed them in individual cages. They had no other rats to interact with, to play with, or whatever else. They had food, and they had 2 things of water. One was just plain water, and the other water was laced with either heroin, cocaine, some kind of drug. Because the rat was by himself, which reminds me so much of my life, because I alienated people for so much of my life, because the important thing to me was to go home in the evening and to drink, and I didn't want to get invitations to go out. It was more important for me to go home and drink. So what did the rat do? That was in solitary confinement. The rat drank from the water that was laced with the drugs. And it kept doing so because it made it feel better. But the problem is, kept doing it and doing it and doing it until it finally overdosed and died. That's me as an alcoholic. If I don't have a fellowship, if I can't be of service, if I can't work with you and see you on a weekly basis, that's going to be me again. On the other hand, he took a bunch of rats and put them in a much nicer, bigger place kind of a park. It had things they could run around with, things they could do. They could play with each other. They could have sex if they wanted. They could eat as much as they want. They could drink as much as they want. They were basically happy. They had companionship. They had fellowship. They had support from each other. Again, two things of water that they drank from. One just plain water, and the other one laced with some type of drug. This time, very few. Once in a while, they may have taken a drink from the water laced with cocaine or heroin or something like that. For the most part, they drank the regular water. Why? Because they were happy. They didn't have to run and try to mask up their feelings with something else. They were happy. And that's what I see this as being. We are like a rat's park. We come here, we're gonna have a celebration next week. We're gonna have a fellowship, we have fun together. That kind of support is what keeps me going. Is that kind of service, it's that opportunity to work with others that keeps me going today, and I'm so thankful for it. Now I have a ton of other things I could talk about, but I'm not going to because I want to hear what you have to say. So thanks again, Jim, for everything you've done for me. You basically have saved my life. I appreciate it. Thanks.